Good morning, everybody. This is how I grunge my papers, take 4 or 5. And if you have any questions after the end of this video, just comment underneath and ask whatever it is, or send me a private message if you don't want to comment publicly, and I'll help you in any way I can. This is a very simple process. I start, and we have a lot to cover today, so I'm going to do this first. We start with a white. I use mostly copy paper. I do use a little bit of cardstock, but that does not work well in my copy machine. So I use mostly plain old copy paper from Walmart. So I start with a white sheet of paper. I put a pan of coffee in the sink. I use a foil pan from the Dollar Tree. I use the pan I'm using down there is probably 2 years old. I just rinse it out and use it over. Make my coffee strong. Sometimes I'll make it weak if I don't want enough color, a whole lot of color in the papers. But I put the coffee in there, make it as strong as you want. I put a couple of tablespoons of vanilla in there, and then sometimes I add other things. But that's the basic thing. Coffee, I use coffee. Plain old Folgers is what I use, just what's left over in the pot in the morning. I pour it in a pan and make my coffee water out of that. And I dunk it one time and put it on a coffee sheet and bake it in the oven. I bake it at 350 for 1 or 2 minutes, and I stand right there while that's baking. And I use cookie sheets from our grocery store because they're smooth in the bottom. The ones at the Dollar Tree have a little bit of design in them. Ours does. So I put them on cookie sheets. I have 5 or 6 cookie sheets, and I stack those sheets. One sheet of paper on a cookie sheet because I don't want them lapping over. I want it to be solid, pretty solid. So this is after one dunk at 350, and then baking it at 350 for about 2 minutes. That's the darkness you get then. Then if it isn't dark enough, I dunk it one more time. Now, can you see the difference in that? I dunk it one more time and put it back in there and leave it for another minute or two and let that get baked dry. And so that gives you a little bit darker paper. If I still want it even darker, I'll even do it again, or I will spritz it. This little spray bottle is from the Dollar Tree. I put my coffee in there, and I'm not going to do any of this up here because I'm on his pool table, and I've got a plastic cloth from the Dollar Tree on here, but I don't want to take a chance making any mess up here. But I spritz. If you want to make just a little place in a corner or make some dots on there, you just spritz and make it drop. And you know how to do that. You spritz a big place to make a place like that, or a big place to make a place like that. Spritz it with that coffee water, put it back in there and let it bake again. That will give you some character to your paper. And you can do that in any designs, one dot, a whole bunch of dots, whatever you want to do. Then, when I'm done, let's see, let me turn this over, and I'm not going to grunge, but I'm going to show you what I do. This is Tim Holtz. I use mainly walnut, and sometimes I use vintage photo. I'm not even going to open it because I don't want to get anything up here. I use these little sponges from Hobby Lobby. This is the sponge that I like best. I've used those wooden ones. They don't work well for me. But I get some stain on there, and then I just start going around the edges, just kind of in a circular motion, and it will darken it even more around the edges of everything. If I want my coffee water to be just a little bit darker, I use this Distress ink, and it's walnut stain. It's the Ranger, and I just put a couple of drops in my spritz bottle or in my foil pan in the paper. In the sink. In the pan. I put a couple of drops of that. It doesn't take much because this is very, very dark. I do have the patty pockets. I haven't used it yet. I won't be painting it on like some do. I'll be using it to darken my paper in my water if it works that way. I haven't even opened the box yet, so I don't know how that's going to work. But I like the way I do it. I like the look that I get. And so that's what I'm going to keep on doing. This just couldn't be more simple. You just bake it until you get the depth of color that you want. Some of my books are really, really grungy. They look like they're just really, really dark. And then some are lighter, like this. So all of my books, even though they get covered with fabric, each page, gets covered with paper or fabric, usually fabric before the paper. I love to do the fabric. But even though I'm going to cover all those pages, I still coffee dye my paper because I want to know it's done right down to the core, and I want to know it's done right down to the core. Okay, so that's it on the how I dye my paper. If you have any more questions, even though we've gone over this over and over, please don't hesitate to ask, because I asked yesterday, what is the difference between gesso and gesso and what was it? Mod Podge. I didn't even know what the difference in that was, and I'm seeing people using those things over and over. I'm going to set this here, and maybe I forgot to bring something up to be in my picture. Oh my gosh. Okay, now we're going to talk just a little bit. Well, first we're going to talk about the rules on the grandma page. There are very few rules on the grandma page. It has to be family friendly. Anything you post, any photos or words, comments that you use on that page have to be family friendly. You'll get one warning if you don't abide by those rules, and we don't even do 3 strikes are out on something like that. If it's not nice, it's not going to stay. That's just all there is to it. I know everybody is not an old church lady on that page. I do know that. But you are all grown-ups, I would think, and so you should have the good sense God gave a goose and know where you can use your own language and photos and where you can't. You cannot use them on the grandma page. That's it. Yesterday we had somebody that was not very kind. It wasn't real bad, but it hurt someone's feelings, and I heard from them, and I went over to see what was going on. And I know how that is. I had that same comment made to me a couple of times under my videos, the very same comment. But, you know, and I want to say, yeah, and your mama wears army boots, but, you know, God told us to turn the other cheek. So I tried to just move on, but that hurts. You know, I do stories on my grandma. I'm on my personal Facebook page, and it's Kay Comer on Facebook. And I've been laxing them the last couple of weeks because I've been so worried about Brian, but I'm trying to get back to it. And but I just do stories every day, and they could be true to life. I get in the most ridiculous messes, and some of the stories are funny. Some of them are inspirational, motivational. You can see anything there, but it's all always family friendly, and it's most always interesting. The stories are just, I mean, you know, I get friends requests all the time saying so and so told me about your stories. I live in Northern Oregon, and but you know, I want to read your stories, and so that the stories have really grown. But I do sometimes get a comment, even on the stories, in a private message. And I was telling this person yesterday that I may get 12 private messages or even posts under the story, and they just say, "Oh, I love your stories. They just lift me up. You know, it's the first thing I do. I grab a cup of coffee and go see if you have a story." You know, they're very complimentary. But then there will be one person that will private message me, and they will say, "I am so sick and tired of your goody two-shoes stories." I want to say, well, move on, girl. You're not cement. You know, you're not. I don't know. What is wrong with people? Why do they have to be? So on our page, that is the rule. It has to be your posts or your photos, your words, all have to be family friendly, and you cannot leave a negative comment. If you don't have anything nice to say, move on. Don't say anything. Didn't you learn that when you were little girls? That's that. Let me see. Let's see. I've got notes over here, and I've got several things I want to cover. One thing, starting today, I hope you'll come to the video with a little notebook that you will keep just for this. You can get a little notebook at the Dollar Tree. Just a little spiral notebook. I've got everything up too close now. Or just some paper. You know, fold a few sheets of paper and staple them and make you a little book. But this is a book that you would want to keep if you want to do this. And I'm going to be sharing quotes with you at the end of each video. just 2 or 3 each time. But you write them down in your little notebook so you will start collecting quotes. Because let me tell you, words matter. Words are powerful. I did craft shows for 20 years, and I'm going to lose my voice here. Well, isn't this great? I did craft shows for 20 years. Kim and I did. Started when she was 6 years old, and I quit when she got married. Well, we did it on into her marriage a little bit, but we did them for 20 years, and we did them. They were always within 2 hours of home, so we could drive to the show and back home at night. But I did what I called rag signs, and they were just little oblong. They were about 14 inches long, and there were different sizes, 14, 16 inches long, 3 or 4 inches deep, and they had a wire across the top and then rags across the wire, and I called them rag signs. And all they were signs with words on them, encouraging words, funny words, some things, I can't, my mind's spinning right now, so I can't think of all the quotes or some of the quotes, but there were some that were just so popular. And there was one big craft show that we did every year near Christmas time, and that craft show was so huge. It was inside of school, and it was all the classes and up and down the halls and in the gym. It was just all over the place. And it was so huge, people would mob outside the door, way out into the parking lot to wait for that buzzer to go off to open that door. So right before they opened the door, they would ring a buzzer to let us all know, be back in your booth because the herd of people is about to come in. And they would just mob our booth for these rag signs. They were only $5 each, very affordable. That might have been a lot of money to some people back then, but they were rag signs. It wasn't something you had to have. So, but I would take hundreds, and they would be gone in no time. And one day, we ran out of rag signs at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I called my hubby and I said, "Can you kind of get some signs going, so when I come home, I'm going to have nothing for tomorrow, and you have to be able to do both days of the show or you're not invited back." I said, "Can you get a few more going, and I'll work tonight and bring them back." So he had them going. I had them sanded and all this stuff, stained and all this, and the wires and the holes drilled and the wires on them. And so I sat down when I got home and tied the rags on, and then and they were distressed. They were very distressed. They were gorgeous. The way you'd sand the paint off of it and then put the words on there and then sand again to get the words dimmer. They were beautiful signs. When I got home, he had 200 ready, so I got right on it, and the show was an hour away, so we had to drive an hour home. So Kim and I worked a long time that night on the signs, and I worked on through the night and went back the next morning with 200 signs, and within minutes all those signs were gone. What I'm saying about that is not that my signs were that great. It's that words are powerful. People love words, and they want things hanging in their homes and on their porches and in their gardens. They want words that will speak to them, that will lift them up and give them a good feeling. I have signs all through our house from the craft show days, and they're other people's signs, and they are just words of encouragement, words of love, that kind of thing. So he had prepped all those signs, and then they didn't last no time when we got back. So we were up a creek without a boat again because we were sold out way before the show. But the woman was very nice. She was glad that the signs were so popular and we had done so well. So if you would like to start collecting the quotes, I'm going to start giving you quotes, and you just write them down in your notebook so you'll have them, or your little pad that you make out of paper, and then I'm going to start practicing my penmanship like Jenny Miller does. That will make the books more personal if we, instead of typing them out, which is what I normally do, our daughter has put some kind of thing on the computer, and I don't know anything about computers, as a few of you know. But she's put some kind of thing on the computer to where I have different fonts. So I can see a quote that I like and find a font that's almost just like it, and type that out and then use it. But I'm going to start practicing on some of the real long ones. I guess I wouldn't, although Jenny does. She does the really long ones by hand. But I'm going to start practicing on my penmanship and start doing the personal penmanship, because, if that's the way you would say it, because that makes your books more personal. it makes them more like Grandma would have if you're wanting to do a Grandma book. So just get a notebook of some kind if you want to start collecting the quotes. And at the end of each video, I'll be giving you 2 or 3 quotes that you can write down, and you'll be able to start your own collection and keep it handy with your craft supplies. So you'll have it when you need it. There is power in words. So you want to make your book speak to the person that's looking at it. And I think that's so important. Everybody wants to feel good. Nobody, and that's what some of the quotes are going to be today. Everybody wants something that's going to make them feel better and lift them up and encourage them in any way. So let's see. Let's just do a couple of quotes because we're up to 15 minutes already, and I wanted to make this shorter than this, but it's too late now. So pause this and get you a pen and paper, or come back to it a little bit later. But here's your first quote. Kindness begins with the understanding that we all struggle. This goes back to the quote the thing that happened yesterday. We all have our own burdens and struggles, and some days we think we can't make it through the day, and at the end of the day, oh my goodness, we just feel like we have the weight of the world on our shoulders. But kindness begins with the understanding that we all struggle. I've always thought that people that are kind of cranky and just not nice, they're not happy, or they wouldn't be that way. I'm so slap happy, I just gush over this stuff. Even though I have burdens too, my goodness gracious, and some of you know the big problem that we have in our family, and I'm not going to go into that, but it's a huge, huge burden. We all need to lift it up in some way. But in spite of the burdens that I have, I try to be like a local motivator. I try to always be up. I shed a lot of tears. Nighttime is not a good time for me. I can do pretty good as long as I stay busy through the day. But then when nighttime comes, oh my goodness, get ready with a box of Kleenex, because I have some pretty rough nights worrying about our problem. And it's not the medical problem that we just talked about, but, it's just, it's huge. So kindness begins with the understanding that we all struggle. Write that down. Kindness begins with the understanding that we all struggle. So, and then here's one more. We are all in total control of 2 things in our lives: our attitudes and our efforts. We are all in total control of 2 things in our lives: our attitudes and our efforts. Here's just a couple more I'm going to give you before I lose my voice totally. Let me move this over, and maybe I can use this for, or I may just take a picture and use it for the little thing that goes with the video. But here's a couple that I just copied off of Pinterest this morning, and I collect mine in a few boards on Pinterest, and then I have the notebook. But this says, yesterday I was clever and wanted to change the world. Today I'm wise, so I'm changing myself. So we can't change the world. If we could, we wouldn't be in the mess we're in right now. But what we can do is change ourselves down deep in our hearts. And by our actions and our words and our deeds, we can make a difference in the world in a positive way. And this one says, being negative only makes a difficult journey more difficult. You may be given a cactus, but you don't have to sit on it. I'll leave that up there, and you can see that maybe if you want to write that down. Being negative only makes a difficult journey more difficult. You may be given a cactus, but you don't have to sit on it. And this one, I love this. It says, a meaningful life is not about being rich, being popular, being highly educated, or being perfect. It is about being real, being humble, being strong, and being able to share ourselves and touch the lives of others. I love that. I just absolutely love that quote, because one person can make a huge difference, and every one of you out there is one person. Each one of you can make a difference in the world immediately around you. And it's like the little boy in the movie. What was that movie? Oh, I can't think. But this grade school class was asked to come up with ideas to change the world, to make the world a better place. And all these kids were saying things kids would say. The one said more ice cream stands and, more movies and all this stuff. And this one little boy went to the chalkboard and he drew a picture of one stick person. And he said, on that one stick person, he said, "This is me." And then he drew three stick people under that. And he says, "I'm going to help these 3 people." And he pointed to these 3 other stick people under him, the stick person. He said, "I'm going to help these 3 people." And then he said, "Each one of these 3 people are going to help 3 people." And so he drew 3 people under that first one, and under the second one, and under the third one. And then he said, those people are each going to help 3 people. So in doing that, that kindness and helping other people will slowly spread around the world. And that is the way we can change the world. And I jumped up when we were watching that movie, and this has been 20 years ago or 25. I jumped up and I said, "Oh my gosh, that would work." Geezer said, "Yes, but you try to make it happen. All you can do is what you do yourself, and you can't control other people." And boy, that's so true. Okay, so we're going to close with this thought. Oh, just some simple words. Just putting words on your page, because words are so powerful. And you can have a blank page and just add a word like love life, savor moments, love always, remember, think magic, blessed. Add one word to a page, and that page just pops. So we're going to close with this thought right here. And it says, "If you have good thoughts, they will shine out of your face like sunbeams, and you will always look lovely." I love that. Absolutely love that. So I'm going to get off of here. I would like to try to do a tutorial on Monday. I'll see if I can get the room lined out. The book goes off today, and I wish you could have seen it. I have added so much more to it than she even knew was going to be in it. Jan got it, and I'm so thrilled that she got it because she's been in our group a couple of years, and I know this book is going to a good, loving home, and I'm so thrilled. So it's going all the way to Australia. It's leaving today, leaving on a plane. Let's see. I think that's it. We'll see what's coming up Monday. But be working on books. Do a March book. We'll start in April. We'll start a book together again. And if you have any questions at all you have to do is private message me or post in the comments underneath, and I'll help you in any way I can. I say that all the time, and I mean that, and I have helped many of you. So the main thing, if you want to sell books, is to get your name out there. Do good quality work, and then get your books out there for people to see. It's really that simple. Okay, that's enough on the sermon. 22 minutes, good grief. Okay, I'm going to get off here. Hope you all have a super duper grand and groovy day. I hope you get a little kindness and spread a little kindness absolutely everywhere you go. Talk to you Monday. Lord willing, and that creek don't rise. Love and hugs.